Good evening, friends. Radio Tokyo presents the highlights of world event in its 6th edition of News in English from Tokyo. This is the shortwave station of the Broadcasting Corporation of Japan. This station operates on the following wavelengths: 25, 31, and 41 meter bands. 13 enemy vessels were sunk, while 26 enemy aircraft were either shot down or destroyed in Thursday's air raids upon Port Darwin by the Japanese Naval Air Force. The Imperial Headquarters announced in a communique issued at 4:30 o'clock Friday afternoon. The communique declares that the Japanese Naval Air Force on February the 19th carried out large-scale bombing attacks upon Port Darwin, the largest air and naval base on the northern coast of Australia, inflicting crushing damage upon the enemy's air strength, enemy vessels in the port, as well as important military establishments on land. The communique further states that 26 enemy aircraft were either shot down or destroyed on the ground by the Japanese raiders, while 13 enemy war vessels, including one converted cruiser of 6,000-ton class, 2 destroyers, 1 submarine chaser, and 9 transports were sunk by the Japanese aircraft, and also damaged beyond repair 1 other enemy destroyer. Military establishments blown up by the Japanese naval planes included all the hangars on the 2 airfields, east and west, 2 groups of barracks, the enemy's naval headquarters, groups of government buildings, and the piers. Compared with the standard success achieved by the Japanese naval air raiders, the loss suffered by the Japanese is extremely slight, according to the communique, which said that the 2 Japanese planes were lost in the raid. The communique added that the Japanese raiders did not attack the hospital ship, which was lying at anchor in the harbor of Port Darwin. From Madrid, the report of Japanese air raids on Port Darwin startled Britain, with the authorities displaying considerable agitation, apparently in obvious fear of the effects of the raid on British morale, which has already been badly shaken by the fall of Singapore, the successful crossing of the Dover by the German fleet, and the success of German forces in Africa. It was reported here from London on Thursday. The British authorities warned the people not to believe rumors regarding the losses of Port Darwin, adding official figures will be given in the near future. However, this attitude of the British officials has created a contrary effect, leading the British public to believe that the casualties at Port Darwin were large and extensive. From Saigon, the ABC radio intercepted in Saigon on Thursday reported that Mr. John Curtin, Australian Prime Minister, commenting on Thursday's air raids on Darwin by Japanese air units, stated that the Commonwealth government considers the Japanese attacks most grave in nature, pointing out that Darwin is the most important sea and airport in the northern part of Australia. Prime Minister Curtin admitted that considerable damages were inflicted to military facilities and other important objectives in the port city by the 2 waves of Japanese air attacks. Following the aerial attack upon the Buitenzorg airfield in Java Island, the Japanese Army Air Force at 5 o'clock Thursday afternoon carried out a fierce raid upon the western airfield at Bandoying in western Java and either destroyed on the ground or shot down 19 aircraft belonging to the Dutch and American Air Forces, the Imperial Headquarters announced at 6 o'clock Friday evening. In the course of Thursday's raids on Buitenzorg and Bandoying, the Japanese Army flyers either destroyed on the ground or shot down 46 Dutch and American warplanes, inflicting the fatal blow to the United Dutch Combined Air Force in Java Island. The communique declared. The communique revealed that 2 Japanese planes have not returned to their base yet. In another communique issued Friday morning, the Imperial Headquarters announced that the Japanese Army Air Corps operating in Java Sumatra sector on Thursday severely bombed the Buitenzorg airfield in western Java, either shooting down or destroyed on the ground 27 American and Dutch planes. In this raid, the Japanese Air Force suffered no damage, it added. You are listening to Radio Tokyo. The Japanese Army and Navy units have succeeded in landing troops on Timor Island, according to an announcement from the Imperial Headquarters at 1 o'clock Friday afternoon. The announcement disclosed that Japanese Army and Navy units at dawn of today on the River Billing captured the city of Billing following a fierce hand-to-hand fighting, according to Avis Dispatch quoting British information. Thus, with the loss of Billing, the enemy forces have only the River Seetung for the defense of Rangoon. From Berlin, the German news agency reported from Rangoon that the Japanese forces operating in Burma have crossed the Billing River in various places and are present from a war base in Burma. The Japanese Army Air Corps, in large formations, conducted air raids on enemy military positions in northern Burma several times on Thursday, and on Thursday announced its intention to abandon the Burma route for transportation of defense materials from Rangoon to Chongqing due to terrific Japanese pressure, according to a Chongqing report revealing that concrete measures have been decided for transportation of war materials from India to Chongqing, boasting that the capacity of the new route will exceed that of the Burma route. The statement declared that the Chiang Kai-shek government will give up the utilization of the Burma route in the future. Radio Tokyo will continue with their news. From Nanking, it has been decided that Chiang Kai-shek is to be appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Allied Forces of Britain and Chongqing, with the headquarters to be established at Mandalay. Information reaching Nanking revealed the fall of Singapore and the deep interest shown by the Indian masses to the declaration of Premier General Tojo, which expressed Japan's support for the independence movement of India. Britain is reported to have decided to let General Chiang Kai-shek assume the post of Commander-in-Chief of the British and Chongqing Allied Forces. The assumption of Commander-in-Chief of the Allied Forces by General Chiang is regarded to be a crafty intention of Britain to utilize the Chongqing army now that the war situation in Burma is becoming more and more unfavorable to the British troops. When the situation of the Western Front worsened, Prime Minister Winston Churchill proposed a federated state plan for Britain and France. But when the armistice was effected between Germany and France, making Britain utterly isolated, Churchill again proposed a similar plan, this time involving Britain and the United States. According to a recent dispatch reaching the Noye Chulihel Tritang, the problem of a United States of China and India is now taken up for consideration among political circles in London, apparently stimulated by the visit of Chiang Kai-shek to India, as well as the imminent crisis in Rangoon. The consideration of this new federated state plan is regarded as indicating the fact that the future of the Chongqing regime is held as hopeless by London leaders, or that India can also be a refugee for a doomed Chiang Kai-shek regime. Nanking, with repeated reverses suffered by the Anglo-American powers since the outbreak of the Greater East Asia War, a pessimistic atmosphere already pervading in Chongqing is rapidly coming to the fore, as is indicated by various information reaching Nanking. A merchant returning from China interior reported that Chongqing guerrilla corps at a certain place, finding the impossibility of continuing resistance against Japan, is now attempting to come in contact with the troops of the Nanking government. The Chongqing Highest National Defense Committee, greatly upset by the spreading rumor for peace in Chongqing, are making frantic efforts to prevent the agitation of the people by broadcasting on the 11th that foreign support will be resumed, with the opening in the near future of a new route between Chongqing and India. On February the 5th, Captain Yuan Ting Kwang of the 18th Regiment of the 63rd Division in the vicinity of the Tahu killed his commander and surrendered to the Japanese defense units south of Hangzhou, bringing with him 171 men and light and heavy machine guns, as well as small rifle ammunition. From Lisbon, reflecting growing Allied concern over Java's defense, Mr. Dennis McAvoy, Columbia Broadcasting System's news commentator in London and former United Press correspondent in Tokyo, Malaya has general defeat is knocking the door of the ABDA camp in the Dutch East Indies. With the Japanese occupation of Palembang in Sumatra, a Dutch East Indies spokesman desperately declared that nothing can save the Dutch colony except a miracle. The statement made by the Dutch spokesman implies that the fate of the Dutch East Indies is similar to that of France before its total collapse. In his latest statement at Sydney, Van Mook, Vice Governor General of the Dutch East Indies, demanded the Anglo-American countries to send more warplanes. His request is incidentally the same as one made by Marshal Maurice Renaud of France, who had entreated the United States to dispatch huge formations of fighters and bombers. Admiral Thomas Hart went down with the United States cruiser Houston in the Java Sea, while General Archibald Wavell is wounded during the Japanese raid over Java. Now the Allied headquarters in the Dutch East Indies are completely possessed by God of Death. From Shonan Island, All of the 65,000 British troops, including Lieutenant General A.E. Percival, Commander-in-Chief of the British forces in Malaya, who have been taken prisoner by the Japanese following the capitulation of Singapore, were on Thursday, Singapore. Were on Thursday, Singapore. Were on Thursday, Singapore. From an undisclosed base, a contingent of the Japanese forces is reported to have landed on 2 points in Baton Island, the Rio Archipelago, under the Dutch administration. This is Radio Tokyo, bringing you another of our daily series of the American War Prisoners information. In giving out this information, I shall repeat the name twice, his age, and the rank and the service for which they were affiliated at the time of their capture. Thus will follow with the address and the name of the person to whom the message is directed. And lastly, the message itself. We begin today with Rendenborg, Carl Eugene Rendenborg, spelled capital R-E-D-E-N-B-A-U-G-H. Rendenborg, age 29 of the United States Marine Corps in Guam. His rank is private first class. His address is 20 Evans Street, Iowa City, Iowa. The message is to Mr. and Mrs. Chris Yetter, his parents, of the same address. Dear folks and Janet, I am okay in every respect. Please do not worry. Please let Janet know that about me. Tell her I love her and to remember. We are being treated with every respect as prisoners. We'll be home when we get there. Tell sister hello and not to worry. We are short of smokes and sweets. Mother, please don't worry and know that everything will be all right. Love to all, Carl. Our next message is from Reed, William James Reed, age 28 of the United States Navy, Guam, and he's a fireman of second class. His address is Route 2, Clifton, Kansas. Route 2, Clifton, Kansas, and the message is to Mrs. May D. Reed, his mother of the same address. Am well and safe. Do not worry about me. Hope you folks are all well. We are treated and fed all right. Love, Bill. And our third message is from Sterling, William T. Sterling. William T. Sterling, age 40 of the United States Navy, Guam, and he's a pharmacist. His address is 508 North C Street, Harrington, Kansas. Anyone hearing this message, please mail to my wife, Mrs. Gladys Sterling, at the same address. Sweetheart, I am a Japanese prisoner of war. I am in good health and have not been injured, receiving good treatment. I miss you lots and think of you more every day. I hope you and the folks are all well. Keep your chin up and do not worry. I hope I can be home with you soon. If you need anything, contact the Navy Department. All my love, Will. And our fourth message is from Story, James Wilson Story, age 32 of the United States Navy, Guam. He's a pharmacist mate of the first class. His address is Box 155, Alma, Arkansas. Box 155, Alma, Arkansas. The message is to Mrs. Clara Story, his wife of the same address. Am getting along as well as can be expected under the present circumstances. Hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Am hoping that I will be home soon, but doubt it. Expect a long war. I and all others in Guam were captured the first day of the war, and later moved off the island to an island belonging to Japan. It sure is cold here, day and night about the same.
Hope Harvey is well now. Don't break my plate. I will be home someday. J.W. Story. And that, radio friends, concludes the American War prisoners' information for this transmission. The same names and messages will be repeated again today following our news bulletin at 3:30 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time and at 6:30 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. This program will be conducted every day until the present list of the American War prisoners in Japan is completed.